Don't worry about the critics and just be yourself. You do you and enjoy the ride.
Welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your host, Kate Bryan. The One Girl Revolution podcast highlights the stories of everyday women who are changing the world through their lives. Please subscribe to our podcast, the One Girl Revolution podcast, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. We're on YouTube at One Girl Revolution, and you can find all of our social media links, podcast episodes, videos, and so much more on our website at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com. Something I have been reflecting on a lot after my conversation that you will hear very soon here is that we can do hard things. Life is full of so many difficulties, challenges, pain, and suffering, but we are stronger than we know. We are resilient, and there is so much beauty and so many good things in this life for us to embrace. But we have to power through. We can do hard things, and I know that this episode will inspire you, challenge you to look at your own life, see the difficulties and challenges that you've overcome in a new way, and will inspire you to do hard things every single day. On this week's episode, I talked to Autumn Spence. Autumn is truly an everyday woman. She's a wife, a mother, CrossFitter, and gym owner. Autumn has been through a lot in her life, but she has overcome it all. And she joins the One Girl Revolution podcast to share her inspiring story. Autumn lost her son, Aidan, at 20 weeks, and she has 2 other children as well. After her daughter Lily was born almost a year ago, Autumn started training and managed to qualify to compete in her age bracket at the Noble CrossFit Games. She is a powerhouse. She's so inspiring. Autumn shares the story of how she lost Aidan and all the different things that she's gone through in her life, but how she's managed to power through and remind herself every single day that she can do hard things, that we can do hard things. Autumn says that life has been mentally and physically challenging, but somehow she manages to push through and continues to try to be the best the best Autumn that she can be every single day. And I asked her about that quote. She wrote that to me in an email, and I was so inspired by that, life can be so mentally and physically challenging, but somehow we can push through, we can power through and strive to be the best us that we were created to be every single day. I know that I often interview founders of organizations on this podcast, but I was so touched by Autumn's story and her resilience. And I'm so inspired by all the different things that she's been through and all the things that she's doing. And I wanted to share her story with you. I know that you'll be inspired too. So without further ado, here's Autumn. Autumn, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you on to share your story. We actually got connected through a mutual friend of ours, Abby Steffel, who many people that listen to this podcast know her story, and she's episode 96. So if people want to go back and listen to her story, and she told me all about you, and she was like, you girls need to know each other. And Autumn would be an amazing guest to have on the podcast. So I'm so excited to have you share your story and more about your life. But before we get into that, I'd love to ask you, who is a One Girl Revolution in your life? Who is a woman or girl that's inspired you?
Currently it's Abby. It's kind of strange. And I just got to spend a week with her, and she just reminded me why she's so important in my life and how I look up to her. Even though we're the same age. I know some people think you can't look up to someone that's your same age, but she's been through a lot more than I have. And I just am very empowered by her strengths. Of course, as a little girl, I was a dancer, so I had all these little dance, seniors and college students I look up to, but that was a different part of my life. That was definitely different goals back then. So.
Yeah, and I think that's true about all of our lives, right? Like at different stages in our lives, we might look up to someone, or we might have family members that we look to, or friends that we admire, but it's really beautiful to know about your community, because I feel like Abby and Braylon and you, like, you're such inspiring women. And I know that you inspire one another, which is really beautiful. So I want to talk about your life, Autumn. So if we can rewind, I'd love to just hear a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about your upbringing and kind of what led you to where you are today.
as I mentioned, I was a dancer. I've been actually danced since I was 3 till I guess about 24. Um, and that was pretty much my life, and I absolutely loved it. I got to dance through college. In college, I was introduced to a gentleman named Chuck Lobe. He introduced me to strength training, and back then, it just girls didn't really strength train that much, and we didn't really see why a dancer needed to be stronger, and it was just kind of a strange little thing. Why would we want to do that? Well, he started training us and teaching us, and he took ballet classes to understand how we moved, and he made us national champions. And it was like the power of being strong, even as a dancer, was huge. And speaking of looking up to, I looked up to him because he taught me about, being mentally strong and physically strong, really took us to a new level. And he made me fall in love with street training. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be, I think, where I am today with physical fitness. So I danced through college, weightlifted through college, ended up getting a kinesiology degree, which was not in the books at the time when I first started college, and fell in love with fitness. My husband and I moved to North Carolina, which is a couple $1,000 in our pocket. Our parents were not very happy. And we wanted to go explore and kind of find ourselves together in a different state. Started working for Gold's Gym and went from being a personal trainer to regional manager to moving to DC and running like 3 or 4 gyms and falling in love with helping others. We just wanted to help others. There's a time I wanted to be a nurse. There was a time he wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, and we had all these hospital goals, and we just wanted to make the healthy healthier. And when we found out we were having a little boy, we decided to move back to Minnesota and open up our own little gym in Mankato, Minnesota, and really like being in this small community. We probably have 100 members in our gym, and it's perfect that way. We really get to know each other on a one-on-one basis. And I don't know, we have this little gym community and this little gym family, and it's really just perfect. And through this chapter of my life, I started to compete in CrossFit. As a competitive dancer, I needed an outlet. We all must need our outlet, and this was mine. And it realized that you could do fitness as a competition. We had no idea that you would just lift weights and try to beat each other. And this, I guess it was like 3 weeks ago, I competed in the CrossFit Games for the first time at the age of 40. And it's been a real crazy, surreal ride. Things happen for a reason. And I've learned a lot. And even in the past 3 weeks about myself that I can't wait to challenge what I've learned and see what happens in the future.
What was that experience like, being 40 and competing in the CrossFit Games for the first time? Because I feel like all of us really, especially women, we think like as we get older, things get harder. Obviously things do get harder, but that's such an accomplishment. And I'm sure that you were looking around and seeing so many younger people in their 20s competing. And this was your first time. I'm sure it was a huge accomplishment, but what was that experience like?
Let me back my story up just a little bit. A year ago today, actually, I was supposed to have a baby. I mean, I had to have a baby. She showed up 2 weeks early. And when she showed up July 30th, I can't remember what month it is, July 30th, I was like so ecstatic that she was here. And I knew my CrossFit Games experience was probably on the back burner because I needed time to be a mother and breastfeed and enjoy my little one. And I started to get in better shape, and then decided to do the CrossFit Open, and then just kept qualifying and doing well. And so that led me to the CrossFit Games. I wanted to share that story. This was not supposed to happen. This was not the chapter I was writing for myself, but it was written for me. And I don't know where the powers of be that wrote this for me, but it was fantastic. So getting to the games, it was insane. Well, the one thing that was nice, I competed against 40 to 44-year-olds. I did not compete against 20-year-olds. So it was nice knowing that we're all in a weird way, all the same chapters in our life in terms of how old we were. But like I had a 1-year-old and a lot of them had teenagers or like kids in college. So it was very different. It was fun talking to them because we were all different stages of our lives. And talking about one of the things that I've learned that was kind of a proud moment is these ladies, when they found out that my daughter was going to turn 1 on like that next weekend or that those next couple of days, just kind of looked at me. And I was almost like a force to be reckoned with. They're like, I can't believe you're here. And I was like, I can't believe I'm here either. And I was able to still hang on and be very competitive with them. Because when you go into the CrossFit Games, which is like the Olympics of CrossFit, you want to be in the best shape possible. And leading into this experience, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was where I wanted to be to compete. And I still, wish I was stronger. And I wish I was faster because I had the hamstring issue. So I couldn't run for a long time. And when I got there and competed, I realized that I was meant to be because my scores were very comparable to theirs. So that was just, this is like a whole other story.
Yeah.
About what I learned when I was there, let alone how I got there and where my mindset was when I showed up versus when I left. It's strange because you think you write your own chapters of your life and all of a sudden a chapter is written for you. And you kind of just sit back and you're like, is this really where I'm supposed to be going? I thought I'm supposed to be going this direction. And it's sometimes hard to believe it until you're like in the moment. And then I don't think I was too late to realize I belonged here. It was like very in a surreal moment of, yeah, this is good. Let's just keep going. This is a good part of my life. So
yeah, it's incredible for people that are listening. You said there that a year ago you had a baby and now your baby just turned 1 a week or so after the games. And it's just incredible what women's bodies can do when we push ourselves and when we put ourselves in situations like that. So that's just incredible.
Check out One Girl Revolution's YouTube channel and hit subscribe for more podcast episodes, short documentaries, and other video content. The Girl Inside features the powerful story of a professor who teaches a life-changing storytelling class to incarcerated women at Cook County Jail. The second documentary from One Girl Revolution is coming soon, so make sure that you're the first to know by subscribing to One Girl Revolution on YouTube.
So you said to me in an email that your life has been mentally and physically challenging. Let me say that again. You said to me in an email that your life has been mentally and physically challenging, but somehow you push through and keep trying to be the best you can be. What did you mean by that? And can you share a little bit just about some of the struggles that you've gone through?
Yes. So back in 2018, mid-April, my husband and I, we lost a son. He was born 20 weeks early. And at that point, the doctors could do nothing for you. Apparently when they're born that young, they just don't help you. And which is like the strangest thing when you're in the hospital and they just kind of sit back and say, we can't help you unless he's 21 weeks old. And that like blew my mind. Like the difference of a 20-week-old child to a 21-week-old child. And it was, that took a long time to get over and to like think why? Like, why is this happening to me? Why can't they help him? Why? I don't know, it's the strangest thing. And this is something I'll never forget. I think about Aidan every single day of my life. But every single day after his loss or after he was born, and you kind of have to keep stepping forward. because it's super easy to step backwards, super easy to fall into this hole. I would say fitness helped me a lot. This gym family that I've created helped me so much, because when I would come to the gym, they would be here in open arms, and usually I'm their therapist when I'm here for them, but they became my therapist, and just, life will move on. You don't want to forget. It's okay never to forget. It's okay to always feel pain and to feel sadness, but you need to keep stepping or pushing and stepping forward. So when I started to get into training again, I needed a reason. And, for me, it was like, I need to be strong for him. Everything is going to be for Aidan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this bar on my back and do some squats for Aidan, because I would need to be strong. And even though I would be crying when I'm squatting, I just still needed to be strong, because I wanted him to be looking at me from above and saying, that's my mom. She can do this. It's okay. He's with God, he's with his grandparents. And it's strange, because like the emotions go in waves. So when I need to be me, because I have all those little words in my head, and I need to just keep pushing. And you have all these all these people, trying to make you do things, and you have to just step back and say, no, I want to do this for me, even though part of me is always, I want to do this for Aidan. And I just need to be okay with failure. The strange thing that happened to me after losing Aidan was my fear for a lot of things completely disappeared. So my fear of heights disappeared. I'm working on my fear of swimming. I had to do that at the CrossFit Games. That's another story. But my fear of like saying, no, I can't do stuff disappeared. And the fear of people telling me I can't do stuff. Like someone tells me, no, you can't do that. You're too old, or it's too soon, or something like that. You just have to like push through and do you, I guess you want to say, and just like ignore the noises in the background. And I guess that was another thing when I was at the games. I had to walk through this gross seaweed, and I had to swim 500 meters, and I do not like swimming. I think it's more of I don't like it versus a fear thing at this point, but I was like, I have to do this. I can be powerful. It's just seaweed. If I have leeches on my feet, who cares? Like, you just have to like, do you and finish the event, and just let all these people be proud of you, whether you're last out of the water, whether you're first out of the water. And it's strange because when you compete, especially in CrossFit, you have all this noise and all this distraction, and you have to teach yourself to do horse blinders. And you just everything is you. I found that in life, you also have to do that. Everything is just you. I mean, I take care of my family and my husband and my mom and dad and stuff like that. But it's like, you just kind of push forward and let the critics do whatever they want. And it's really helped me in life. And I just really hope other people can kind of figure that out too. When I was a kid, I was bullied a lot. Moving into a new school, I had curly hair and braces, and the boys liked me and the girls hated me. And it was like the strangest experience. And I let all those critics like destroy me. Like, I never wanted to go to school. I sat in the nurse's office all the time. And it's like, if I could tell that little girl, like, you're going to be strong, you're going to be powerful, you're going to do things at the age of 40 you never could do at the age of 12. Like, it's going to be okay. Get out of the nurse's office, and I could just ignore what those girls say. It would have made life a lot easier when I was little. Yeah. But it's hard. We don't think about that stuff when we're a kid because we're so worried about everyone else.
There's such a tendency, even as adults too, especially as women, for some reason, where we're comparing ourselves to other people. And that's what I love so much about your girl gang. And I find it so inspiring that you all support one another and keep in touch with one another. But I think it's so important for us to do exactly what you said, put your horse blinders on and be like, okay, what's right in front of me? And there are going to be difficult moments in our lives and what you experience, losing a child has got to be the most difficult thing in the world, especially for women, for men and women, but especially for a mother carrying a child. And just that you were able to pull yourself out of that. And now Aidan's legacy continues through all the work that you're doing. And when you're empowering other people, whether it be the women that you're competing against or your friends or everybody in your gym community, Aidan's legacy continues through all of that. But your witness is so inspiring, Autumn, and what you're doing is just so incredible.
And I haven't told you that my newest project that I'm going to be starting really soon is I want to offer free classes. I want to gear it towards women because I feel like women have a harder time with child loss than men. And I don't want to be sexist about it, but I want to offer free classes to women who have lost a child of some sort, we all have different stories. And I think it's important to teach them that to be strong in the gym, to be strong in here and be okay and like walk with your shoulders up a little higher, even though we want to just kind of do this because we all have this sadness inside us. And I think it's good to talk about it because nobody talks about it. No one ever talks about it. And it wasn't until I lost Aidan, I realized all these people have had a loss of either, an 8-week pregnancy or a stillborn child, or all of a sudden you just kind of open your eyes and you're like, you're not alone. And that's like the craziest thing to me is how not alone I was. And it's like, I don't know if it's in other communities, but in my Mankato community, you don't hear about it, you don't talk about it. And I think it's pretty important that we have like this little sisterhood of, we're gonna be okay, we're gonna survive, but we don't want to forget, so we can just kind of again, use Aidan's legacy, use other children's legacies to persevere and take charge. And I don't know, it's just something that I've been thinking about and something that I really want to do. So I'm hoping that's something that happens in our gym in the future.
That's amazing, because I think also it's important for women like you sharing your story because it empowers or opens up opportunities for other women to share their stories. And I know so many women that have struggled with infertility or suffered miscarriages or lost children in, like you said, a variety of different ways. And there's I don't know if it's a stigma or people just don't talk about it. And so we need to normalize talking about losing a child, and to pour yourself into something like fitness, or I always think about it as like a magic feather, right? Like when you're a little kid, we all have suffered from bullying in different ways growing up, because bullies are always going to find something wrong with you, whether it's you're too tall or you're too short, or you have curly hair or you have straight hair. Like they're always going to find something. Kids can be so mean. But just finding a magic feather that kind of pulls you out of yourself. And that's what I know fitness has been for you. It kind of pulled you out of just like the place that you were in. And I think that's the power of fitness and CrossFit. And then also building this community that empowers women and gets you to support one another through that. So I can't wait to see that happen. And I'm so excited about this new project that you're working on.
So thank you. Yeah, pretty excited about it too. I'm glad I was able to share that with you. Last time I spoke to you, that wasn't in the works. I had different feelings. So
yeah. Well, I can't wait to support it, and I can't wait for one girl to promote what you continue to do, because I know that that's just going to be the beginning. Autumn, I'd love to hear from your gym perspective and from everything that you're doing in fitness. I'd love to hear a story or two of women that you've worked with and supported through this journey and supported through your gym.
Okay, so my favorite story, there was a man and a woman at the time they were married. They came into the gym and he really wanted to try our classes out. And she was very hesitant, and they would come only together because she was very, very nervous about picking up weights or learning new movements. And then I noticed she started coming alone, and he would start coming alone. And she started to seem less self-conscious, less anxious. And then she would wear more of a tank top than a loose fitting shirt. And then she would be more talkative. And then she was adding more weights on her bar. And then next thing you know it, she wants to do a little first CrossFit competition with a friend. And the next thing you know it, she decided she's gonna go back to school and get her doctorate. And then the next thing, she's like going to all these countries and hiking and snorkeling. And she had this huge bucket list, and it was check, 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 check. And we're just like, what is going on? And they're like, we love this power. What is happening to you? And she said that when she walked into the gym, she was very self-conscious. She was just a life. She had a desk job, and she was afraid of weightlifting. She was afraid of exercise. And we kind of just turned that feeling upside down. And she realized that, she can back squat 100 pounds. She realized that she can do push-ups, that she could do a pull-up with assisted band. And she started realizing she could do all these things that she never thought she could do. And it kind of like bled out into the rest of her world. Like, she decided she didn't want to sit at a desk anymore. She wanted to get her doctorate. She wanted to go on hike up some mountain that she just always looked at pretty pictures of. And she never thought she could do that stuff until she realized she was strong. And it was the coolest thing to see this woman like completely do a 180 in our facility. And we've had a couple other stories like that also happen here. And that's really like my favorite part of my job, is watching these people like come in one person, and then even they have to leave me, but they're leaving a different person. And it's like, I don't know, I don't think a lot of people get to experience that. And it's just like, oh, it's the coolest thing ever. I wish people could do that to other people. I don't know.
Just the confidence that it brings. And I always say to people, like, I just want to be healthy and strong, and the power that just being healthy and doing anything to make you stronger. And it's not that people have to, join a gym necessarily, or even do CrossFit, but just to do something active. If we learned anything from the pandemic, it's that people, especially from a mental health perspective and from a health and wellness perspective, people need to do something active. And so just seeing those transformations must be so mind-blowing and empowering for you too.
Yeah, it really is. I really wish people, it's always easier to say things, but it's like, go for a bike ride. Some people say, oh, you're too old to go on a bike ride. You're not too old to go on a bike ride, or go mountain biking, or sign yourself up for a little 5K. If you walk the whole thing, who cares? You signed up for the 5K. It's like you're challenging yourself a little bit. I think it's important that we challenge ourselves even just a little bit, because it keeps our brain fresh, and it keeps keeps us positive. Because if we are able to check off something, we just feel happier. I even tell people in here, in a workout, write the workout down, even if you can just check it off while you're working out. There's something powerful about checking things off, even if it's a grocery list. I know there's something powerful about checking things off. Yeah, it's sort of like finding that friend that needs that push, that needs that someone to help check things off with. It's like, pulling them under your arm, be like, we can do this hike together. I promise you, we don't have to go fast. And then once they're done, it's like, I did it, and again, that can bleed into like other parts of their lives. It's just, finding those people. So it's me finding my friends, Abby and Raylyn. Like, I could talk forever about those two, but it's like, I can do this. I can jump back into exercise, after a baby. I can, if I have an injury, it's okay. I can sit back, work on other body parts, and then, heal that injury, and we'll still be fine. Like, life's not over. And it's that when a chapter is written for you, like my chapter of Aidan is written for you, you have to be like, it's okay to move on and try to write a new chapter for yourself. Because I think some people feel like this is life, this is the way things are supposed to be written for me. But I think a lot of times we also have to write chapters in our story, because if we don't push ourselves and try to jump forward, we're just going to be kind of sitting back in this life that we think is meant for us. But we really need to, I don't know, push through the doors and write chapters too.
Yeah,
Just
not take life
like,
laying down. Like people say
yeah.
that, like, don't just take
Oh.
it, take ownership of it, and know that we have the power to change. We can't, there are a lot of things in life, right, that we can't change. Like you
Yeah,
can't
no.
bring Aidan back. You can't,
Mhm.
you know, you can't change that part of your story, but you can change how you react to it. And that's so many
Yeah.
things in our lives. And we do have the power to change things. And even like you were sharing about, you know, you and Abby and Raylyn, if you're scared to do something, some of the best things in life are the most scary. Like I'm sure you going into the CrossFit games, you were like, I don't know if I can do this, but if
Exactly.
you just have somebody to cheer you on, or to be like in the moment when you're really struggling, or you're really like second guessing yourself, because we do that all the time. I know I do it on a daily basis, but just to have people be like, no, you can do it. I know you can do it. I know you. I know, like, we all need those friends in our lives. And so to find those friendships, especially sisters, you know, women that can support us in that. And if you're scared to go join a gym, get a friend to go with you, even just to try out a fitness class, or if you want to go for a bike ride. Like, we need to build community. It's so important.
And the funny thing about meeting or being such great friends with Abby and Raylan is we met as competitors. We met in like the competition line, like I'm gonna beat you type of a thing. And I think people don't realize, like, just because you're competing against someone doesn't mean you can't like just become like best friends with them, because you have the one thing in common, and then you realize you have more things in common, or you realize, oh, I can learn from that person. And I don't know, it's just strange how things happen. It's pretty cool to find
Yeah.
those people. They just kind of fall into your life.
If you're enjoying this episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast, please leave us a review and share this with your friends and family. The One Girl Revolution podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, or wherever you are listening to the podcast right now. Please subscribe, leave us a review, and share.
Autumn, if you could get to the very root, I know you shared a little bit about your story and kind of what led you to fitness, but if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do, why you care about the people that you care about, why you have this gym, why you're passionate about it, what would you say that root is?
I guess I just want to make a difference. And I kind of I had to figure out how I was going to make a difference. And owning this little gym and, you know, cheering someone on daily, I guess, is kind of, I like to think that every time I see them, I'm making a little difference. Competing as a 40-year-old, just having a baby, people in the community are like, what are you doing? You're crazy. And then they realize that my crazy might make them do something more fun. They realize that it can be done, even though you're 40. I mean, it's just a number on the calendar. And then realize I'm making a difference, showing them that, you know, really the sky's the limit. Because when I originally went to school, I wanted to be a nurse. I thought making a difference would be just helping people get healthier in terms of like in the hospital setting. But once I fell in love with fitness, and like putting a smile on someone's face during class because they're having a great time. And that's just kind of, I guess, how I want to leave my legacy as a, like, she just always wanted to make a difference, whether it was in the gym, outside the gym, was it my child, this community I want to create here for people who have lost children.
You have so much wisdom, and you've been through so many different things. For women that maybe have gone through child loss, what would you say to them who might be struggling right now? Maybe they're going through it right now. What advice would you give to them? And is there anything that helped you through Aidan's loss?
I felt like there was always never the right thing to say. there are two particular women I talked to a lot when I was going through it. And they always would tell me there's nothing like the right thing to say. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to ask a lot of questions, but the questions will most likely never be answered. For the longest time, I like really hated God. I hated him. I didn't know why he did this to me. Why was this my chapter? Why did he take Aidan from me? Why? And eventually, I found my faith a little bit more. I never was a religious person and started going to church a little bit more and kind of started embracing the Lutheran religion and kind of started being okay with it. I guess being okay with it isn't the right word, but accepting it, I guess, accepting what it just had happened. And even though I started to feel more acceptance, it was still okay to be sad. But you can't just live on that sadness. You have to persevere and do something to make something or someone proud. You just have to not dwell on it. I don't know. I mean, the best advice I got was it's just going to take time and you will get through it and you will always be sad, but life will move on and other things will make you happy. And it probably was like the 1 year anniversary was the worst. So because it still is so fresh in your mind. Because there's still some days I'll wake up and I will see a rainbow. We have like this light catcher in our kitchen that I'll see it. And it's like some days the tears will come. Some days I'll walk in there with my son and my son will be like, oh, look, Aidan's saying hi. Because when we see rainbows in the kitchen, we say Aidan's saying hi. And it's like, we all kind of get better. It was definitely hard having a son who wanted a little brother so bad. And he didn't understand. He didn't get it. We're grateful that he actually goes to a Catholic school and he kind of learned about his religion and realized a little bit more what was going on, where Aidan was going and who he was going to be with, and God will hug him and be with him and that he's not alone. And but you have to talk to people. I think that was the thing is I didn't want to say anything. And the more I talked, and even the more I talk like to you right now, it's like, it's just something comes off your shoulders. Like it's okay to talk about it. And I think that's the biggest thing with me wanting to start this group is like, I just think people need to not bury it. Don't bury it in a memory. Don't bury the child. Don't bury the conversation and just talk about it because it feels better. And I think the more I talked about it after the 1 year anniversary, it just seemed easier. I don't know if easy is the right word, but
it helps you process. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Loss is always going to be difficult. I have a really dear friend who just lost her mom, and I was like thinking all day, like, what do I text? What is the text that I send as her friend? And same with people that are listening that maybe they haven't lost a child, but they know someone who had a miscarriage or lost a child in the different ways that women lose children, but just to be present. I think that's the most important thing whenever loss happens, and to be present continuously throughout their lives because it never gets easier. And that's the thing with Aidan is I know it's never going to get easier. And you guys it's beautiful that you and your family talk about it and that, Aidan's the little brother. And I know that we've had different women on this podcast who have lost children and they talk about it very openly and they talk about it with their children and they go and visit, their little brother's gravesite or different things. And I think it's so important for women to talk about it, which is why I'm so excited about this project that you're working on. And I can't wait to see it grow because it just even bringing some women together. Women are always stronger when they're together, right? So when you bring women together who have all been through something so difficult in their lives, I can only imagine the power that's going to explode out of that.
I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm so excited.
It should be. It should be a good time. When you get women together for any reason, it can always be a good time, whether we end up talking about it to each other or just being around people, knowing that we all have this little thing inside us. It's just, I think it'll be huge. It'll be huge. It's going to be good.
It's going to be amazing. Autumn, I will be sure to post all the links to your gym and you're on social media so people can follow you and follow everything that you're doing and follow this new project. But before I let you go, I always end this podcast on one question. So I'd like to ask you, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be?
Don't worry about the critics and just be yourself. You do you and enjoy the ride.
Love it. Love it. Autumn, thank you so much for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast. Thank you for sharing your story and thank you for all the great work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy I'm able to share my story, and hopefully this conversation will help someone when they listen to it. So
I know it will. I know it will.
Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number one girl REVO. And you can find more information on One Girl Revolution at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number one girlrevolution.com.